Hey guys, week 2 of our dog training tip of the week isn't so much a tip of the week as much as it is going to be information so that you understand how we actually train dogs. So we use science to train dogs. It's not based off of feelings or emotions or any of that. We actually use the science of learning to teach dogs. Now, you learn the same way, I learn the same way. Most animals on the planet, in fact, I would say all animals on the planet, learn the same way. And how is that? That's through consequence, also known as operant conditioning. So we use it as trainers because we're applying operant conditioning to the dog's behaviors to teach them. So now there's 4 quadrants to operant conditioning. We have positive punishment, we have negative punishment, we have positive reinforcement, and we have negative reinforcement. All of these quadrants work together to teach the dog a full picture of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, how to get rewarded, and how to avoid being punished, right? So, and that's part of training. And same thing with you and I. We want to avoid punishment and get rewarded. I don't want to get written up at work. I want to get paid. So, same concept. When we're talking about operant conditioning and how we apply that with dog training, again, we don't do it based off of feelings. So positive and negative actually mean adding or taking away. Now, when I'm talking about positive punishment, I mean adding a punishment. I'm talking about positive reinforcement, I'm talking about adding a reinforcer. Negative punishment, negative taking away, negative reinforcer, negative taking away. So, now, examples of this. We've got this infographic up here so you can see some examples of it, and I'm just going to explain those examples real quick. Positive reinforcement is really easy. The dog does a desired behavior, and I add something to the equation, something of value, a reward for the dog, that causes him to think, oh, if I do this again, I might get rewarded again, right? Positive reinforcement creates a behavior that is more likely to happen, right? So I tell the dog sit, the dog sits, I give him a piece of food. They're more likely to sit next time I say sit because that's the last thing that happened. We're talking about negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement, the best way to explain it is if I tell a dog to sit and they don't sit and I add pressure to their butt and start pushing down and then they sit, I take away that negative, I take away that reinforcer, right? So that is negative reinforcement wrapped up in a very quick nutshell. Then we have positive punishment, which means adding a punishment to the equation. The best example for this is a dog jumps on me and I pop their leash, right? I grab their leash and go, nope. That is positive punishment. Now when I do positive punishment, it's teaching the dog to not do that behavior again, right? So we're creating a behavior that is less likely to happen in the future. Now let's also talk about negative punishment. Negative punishment also discourages behavior in a different way than you would think, because let's go back to the food example. I have food and I'm telling the dog to sit and the dog doesn't sit. I'm going to withhold that food until they do sit, which is the negative punishment side of things. I'm withholding, I'm taking away food, something that the dog desires, taking away food. They sit, then I go right back to positive reinforcement and pay them for the last desired behavior, right? So that's the best way that I can explain in a brief nutshell each of the 4 quadrants. Now, there are many different ways to apply reinforcers, add punishments, take away punishments, add reinforcers and take them away. There's a whole bunch of different ways. These are just the simplest ways to kind of go through it in your mind and make it all make sense. This is how dogs learn. This is how you and I learn. Again, this is the most effective way to train a dog because they learn a clear understanding of what is expected and what will happen when they do X behavior, right? So if they sit, they're going to get rewarded. If they down, they're going to get rewarded. If they don't do that, they're going to get corrected or punished. So they learn that there's consequence. There's both good and bad consequences for their actions. just like you learned as you were growing up. That's our dog training tip of the week. More, like I said, informational based. But if you have any questions, drop them below. I'll post a picture of the 4 quadrants and some information, some links so that you can access those in the future or right now because you want to learn more. And if you need help training your dog, reach out to us. We're here.